I'm here to present HyperTrack Copilot. HyperTrack Copilot is essentially a map you can talk to. And we built this with Traba. And we were trying to discover our own flavor of AI. What does HyperTrack's take on AI looks like? So I'm going to ask you to pin my screen. I'm going to present right behind me. So please pin my screen. I won't be sharing my screen. I'm going to do the same. Let's jump right in. Awesome. So this is what HyperTrack Copilot looks like. And initially we named this product Chatless, which was a combination of the words chat and atlas, because that perfectly describes what it does. There's a chat box on the left and a map on the right. And the vision is that we're trying to make this essentially God mode for your team. So it's whatever geospatial data you're trying to surface, you just talk to it without having to write SQL queries, and that data bubbles up to the surface. So let's take a look and let's try and run a couple of queries and see how that goes. So the first one we're going to try is we're going to try and surface shift destination for Traba in New York City. So these are destinations where their workers might be going to perform any task. So under the hood here, we're using OpenAI GPT-4, which is very powerful. And the cool thing is that it actually tells you what it's thinking and how it's processing the data. So how this works is that none of Traba's data or HyperTrack's data is actually sent to OpenAI, but instead we use their LLM to write Python programs that can query HyperTrack data. So now what it's going to do is it's found, as you can see in the chat here, it found a couple of locations, Yankee Stadium and Washington State Park, and then it's going to pull those up on the map, and we'll see them come up. So we're still in the very early days of AI, and it's slowly processed. But look to the future and imagine a future where anyone on your team can just type something in and then look up data. Imagine how much faster your team would move if you had that, and how many insights you would uncover about what's going on the ground. So the three types of data that we are surfacing right now are shift locations, which you see now. Let's try another one. Now what we're trying to do is we're trying to find out where are all the workers located who serviced the Yankee Stadium today. So we're trying to estimate, like, what are their commute times? Who's taking the longest to get there? What area should I be looking for workers in? And so now it's writing a query to try and find all the workers who worked at the Yankee Stadium today. So slowly, as you can see, they started popping up. We have one here, Noah. And we're going to have a bunch more. There you go. So those are all the workers who worked at the Yankee Stadium today. And now what we can do is the third type of entity that we plot is routes. So let's say we want to draw a route for one of the workers. We want to see what was their route, not only going to the Yankee Stadium, but also at the Yankee Stadium and after the Yankee Stadium. So pre-shift, during the shift, and after the shift. You want to see all their activity. So it's going to gather all the coordinates that we have for that worker, and it's going to try and plot that route. And then we can kind of fly around and inspect it. Well, as this platform develops, we very much want to, it's going to be able to do more complex queries, like show me workers who left for a lunch break, or show me workers who are commuting together. But these are just very early days, and this is what we've built. So as you can see, Ava is traveling from Lower East Side all the way to Yankee Stadium. This is a route within the Yankee Stadium. She's probably zigzagging back and forth, fulfilling orders. And this is a route upwards. So that's kind of a quick demo of our capabilities so far. This is the start. This is the foundation of HyperTrack Copilot, and we're really looking forward to bringing it to all our customers and evolving the product to really have your teams essentially fly through all your data. That's our goal. So HyperTrack Copilot is brought to you by Saurabh. Saurabh's the lead person on this, lead engineer on this, and you're going to hear from him right after. He's here to answer all your questions. And Siddharth and I are also on the design team. So thanks so much. Thanks to Akshay, Kashyap, and Gaurav, and I'll hand it back over to them.
Hey, thanks a lot, Vibhas, Saurabh, and Siddharth. Amazing prototype. So a little bit of a background around this. About 3 weeks back, 4 weeks back, 3.5 weeks back, I said, what do you guys can, we have the chat GPT, it's been around for a while. Let's go to Trava and ask them what questions they want to answer and work with them to develop a prototype. Vibhas and Saurabh asked me, when do you want the prototype? I said at the GigWorks Summit in 3.5 weeks. So it's great to see that the team is able to rouse to the challenge. This will develop very rapidly. In fact, it's been evolving every week, getting stronger, getting wider, getting deeper. So we invite everybody. It's in the limited alpha right now, in the design phase right now. So the only design partner at this point that we are working with will be Traba. Once we have a production-ready product, we will. Before that, we'll invite other design partners. But this is fantastic. Thanks a lot, Vibhas. Thank you, Saurabh and Siddharth. With that, let me open up for Q&A. If you have a question, please post it on the feed loop or on Zoom chat here. I have a few questions that popped up throughout the session on the Zoom chat, so I'm going to get started with that. And then I'll give everybody a few seconds to put in additional questions if they have questions for the speakers today. So the first question here, and I think I'm going to ask Saurabh the question here from the HyperTrack team. What is the most complex query that you guys built with this so far? And what do you hope to build in the future?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So, I mean, what Vibhas showed you today is, the first, just the main entities that we work with. But the power of the system is, in fact, the ability to combine and, cross-check between the various entities. So, in developing this over the last week, so like one of the queries we got working reasonably reliably, but not 100% of the time yet, is which workers left the shift while the shift was on, and show us their route outside. And you could see that it would do the analysis of during the shift time, find which workers were not at the expected place during the shift, and it would highlight them and their routes in a red color. And you could easily drill down and see what happened and why they were out, etc. So that's one of them. The other one we got working, and Travo was very interested in this outcome, so we tried it early, is do worker A and worker B travel together? And you can just simply ask it that, and it analyzed their timestamps, whether they were always near each other for like a reasonably large portion of the trip, and then gave you an answer and drew their route. Or if they didn't travel together, it said no and showed two different routes. That's the other one that we did get working earlier. That's pretty cool. And in both of these, as you can see, right, it's taking concepts from an understanding of what's supposed to happen. So, and it is merging that with some analysis from a different data source and coming up with an answer or showing it on the map. So in the first one, it would understand what is the expectation of a shift. So which area should they be in? What is the geofence around there? As well as what is the time that they're expected to be at the shift at as data point 1. And then it would take the workers' positions as recorded through the day as data point 2 and merge the two together and come up with an answer as to were they outside the shift while the shift was ongoing. Because if you notice, all workers were outside the shift at some point when they were getting to the stadium afterwards, etc. But so it really had to do some thinking to make sure that the answer it gave was, in fact, while the shift was ongoing. So that's the first example. And the second one is an even more complex analysis where it's taking two streams, one for person A, one for person B, and coming up with a definition of what it means to be traveling together. And you can hint it a little bit in that direction. And then it does the analysis and tells you yes or no. And as a continuation, you can also identify all the workers which travel together. And then it went ahead and did that. So these are the two most complex queries we have tried and that have worked successfully so far. And of course, the beauty is we haven't taught it this query. We have only taught it what the data is and what the entities are, the three entities that Vibhas spoke about. So it is actually able to put together general knowledge and these entities to come up with this analysis on the fly.
Wonderful. Thank you, Saurabh. Next question is from the audience for Akshay. Akshay, question about scaling up. You have done a dramatic scaling starting with the Miami Tech Week. As you're scaling up your operations, right, one of the things Kashyap talked about was tech-powered operation. The question is, as you're scaling up, what are the key things that you're looking out for as you're scaling up with technology or operations across multiple states? What are the key things that are on top of the mind for you and the team at Traba?
Yeah, the biggest things that we have to keep in mind is where are we seeing cases where similar types of problems or similar types of operational workflows are needing to take place, in a given market or a new market. And usually that's something that we start to see with different customer types or customer profiles. We'll start to see that signal of a similar type of problem or similar type of request that's coming in. And then that's a signal for us to go and start building, a system or a workflow or an automation to help us with that. As we've scaled, we've obviously grown very quickly, but one thing that's been super important is to be able to scale our tech platform alongside that growth. We don't want to just scale our operational headcount linearly as we're expanding across the US. And so it's been really important to build out these operational tools, visibility, automations. So one of the things that I touched on briefly in the presentation that we launched pretty recently, it was AI-assisted backfilling. So this is in the case where we have a lead cancellation or something like that. That can typically be an operationally expensive process to get a replacement. And so what we did was, we put our heads together as a product team to figure out a way to better do this. We started applying some of the most recent tools on the AI side to generate and parallelize backfilling calls. So we're making calls to workers who have expressed interest in shifts that week, and we're able to get a shift that was late canceled, automatically backfilled without much operational overhead associated with it. And so it's basically these types of things that we start to see as we scale. Something that used to be, a small or medium-sized problem is growing, and it's something that's when it's time to tackle it as a technology team to make sure we're able to handle that as we grow.
Excellent. Thank you, Akshay. One more question for you. How accurate is your location data with HyperTrack, and can you track how many people accessed different parts of a building? Are you able to go down to that level of granularity?
Yeah, so it gets very accurate. So we're talking about 50 meters, 100 meters, that kind of thing. And so we're able to see within a facility, especially for some of these larger production facilities, we can see exactly what part of the facility that worker might be in. We can see teams or groups as they split up, and maybe they're doing different types of work in different parts of the facility. We can actually see what that looks like, and then we can also track when someone's leaving, pretty accurately that hey, they've left the building and now they're on their way outside of the geofence. And so it's been overall very accurate, and it's allowed us to be able to break out some of these differences within a given location.
Wonderful. One more question there online on the field loop. What is the time frame? What was the time frame required to kind of implement the operations, the location visibility as a part of your operations?
Yeah, so for the initial implementation of HyperTrack, I think it took around a few weeks or so. We did have some hurdles with implementing that into our React Native application. So there were some unforeseen difficulties with that, but the team at HyperTrack was super helpful in helping us resolve those and get it rolled out. So it took probably around a few weeks to implement and launch. And then from there, we were able to scale it up over a few weeks after that to be able to roll it out across all the workers on the platform.
Awesome. Thank you, Akshay, for joining us. Thank you, Vibhas, Saurabh, and the rest of the team HyperTrack. Thank you, Kashyap. Please stay with us for the next session. Part Runner is presenting how they are managing big and bulky deliveries in the United States and Mexico for tiny retailers like Walmart and others right after this. So please join us for the part runner session. Stay with us. And if you're not able to join us live, of course, you can listen to the recording. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Akshay.